Welcome everyone to PetStar. I'm Dr. Darrell Wolfe, and this is a Doc of Detox show. Today, my host is Dr. Marlene Siegel, and she's here to tell you the truth about your pet's health and how you might be making your pet sick. Just might be. Now, today's show is called How to Deal with Your Pet's Leaky Gut. Now, believe it or not, chances are, if your pet has a leaky gut, you probably have a leaky gut too. You'd be surprised how you are connect to the hip with your pets. The next PetStar show is going to be called What Your Pet's Live Blood Analysis Can Tell You. And that'll be on Wednesday, okay? Wednesday, 2 weeks from today, all right? September the 19th at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But before we start, I would like to let everyone know that if you can't watch these shows live, you can go to docofdetoxshow.com or you can go to our Doc of Detox channel on YouTube. And the good thing about if you want to go to YouTube is that you can share Dr. Marlene Siegel's show, PetStar, with anybody around the world with any type of different language, and they can do closed captioning, and it will actually go to any language that person speaks, because believe it or not, information like this, you're not going to find it. You're going to have to look really hard to find information that actually tells the up and up truth about what to feed your pet, how to look after your pet, and what you need to do, because believe it or not, your moods and who you are affects your pet every day. Okay? So you can go to YouTube, like I just said, and you can slow the conversation down. You can put it into a different language, or you can just see it here right on Facebook. All right? And our toll-free number, 888-570-9445, will be open up for everyone in about, let's say, 15, 20 minutes. So are you ready to take your pet's health and healing to the highest level? Okay? And here we go. Good day, Dr. Marlene Siegel. How are you?
Oh, I'm amazing. How are you guys?
We're great. So we were talking earlier before we came on the show, and you were talking about a little story you've got about a little fawn.
Well, let me tell you what happened. So yesterday when I came into the office, I started seeing my cases, and we had two ladies who had been driving by and saw a mother deer and her baby get hit by a car. The mother was killed and the baby had her leg broken. So she just collapsed down. They picked her up and they didn't know what to do at first. So they called a rehab agency, and then they discovered that I was really close by. So they brought the deer in. Now, there are laws regulating the ability to keep and rehabilitate deer, but there's a fiduciary responsibility that all of us have to provide basic stabilization care for those injured animals. I mean, what I'm saying, I'm talking about veterinarians. And so when they came in, our immediate reaction was to find out how she was injured and then provide immediate stabilization so that she could be safely transported and get more long-term health. Well, I've been doing wildlife for my community as a free service for 36 years. And we've seen amazing creatures, and we do it absolutely free. If people want to donate, we accept, but it really is a service that I feel is important for me as a veterinarian to give back to my community. So we're working on this deer. She had a really bad fracture of her back leg, and she was the sweetest thing in the world. So I'm sewing up the skin. You know, when their skin is torn on the back leg, they don't have a lot of room back there. You have to really get that skin closed so that it doesn't contract down, and then you can't get it closed afterwards. So we got her on pain control. She got laser therapy, both her red laser and her blue light for infection. We did rectal ozone. And as I'm working on her, we get a phone call from a rehabber. These are people who have a license to be able to rehabilitate these animals. And the instructions my receptionist came back with was, do not touch the deer anymore. We are on our way to pick it up. And I looked at my receptionist and she looked at me and she already knew I was in no way, shape, or form going to stop stabilizing this baby deer. So I continued doing what I was doing. And of course, the rehabber assistant comes storming in and really bad energy. I mean, the whole office just sucked their breath back in. I kind of didn't pay any attention to her, and she starts asking me questions like, well, what do you plan on doing with her? And I said, well, I would have taken her to Busch Gardens is real close by, and they do rehabilitation. We have Lowry Park Zoo that does rehabilitation. We would have found a place to put her. And she's asking me all these questions. And while I'm working on her, she's texting away, and I could see she's reporting me. And so I got her leg in a soft cast. I got her stabilized and got her ready for transport. And we gave her the deer and off she went. A few hours later, I get a fish and game officer coming into the office, and and a really nice guy. And he goes, is there a deer here? And I said, no, sir. The deer was sent with a rehabilitator person. And all I did was stabilize her, get her pain under control, make sure her leg was stable. And then we sent her off. I said, is that illegal? He said, absolutely not. You did what you are trained to do, and we are grateful and appreciative. And thank you so much. Obviously you did not have the intention of keeping this wild deer. So after he left, there was something that just made me post it on Facebook. And I don't normally post stuff. And I didn't say it ugly. Anybody who wants to go see the post, you can see the deer, you can see her broken leg and my comments. Well, here's the beautiful thing was that I had within 4 hours, I had nearly 100 responses. And by this morning, we had over 200 responses plus shares. It was beautiful, the number of people that reached out with gratitude and compassion and caring. And sometimes we get so busy in our world that we forget to look at the blessings. We forget to see the good things that are going on. So I look at that situation with the rehabber and I said, what are the blessings that we can get from that situation? And the blessing is that we were able to create a storm of love, a washing of compassion and joy that this little baby was taken care of. But the ongoing story is I called today to Busch Gardens where they told me they were going to take her. She never went there. So now we are on the hunt for where is baby La Luz. I named her La Luz because it means the light.
Beautiful.
And she is. She's shining the light for all of us to find the goodness in ourselves. And I asked everybody on Facebook who responded to make a point of today doing something above and beyond the ordinary in the realms of kindness. What could each of us pull out of ourselves that we could do? One, it doesn't have to be a big act of kindness, but just one little thing. Open the door for somebody, smile at somebody, offer a hand, offer a kind word, whatever that looks like.
Absolutely.
Let's keep that going.
This reminds me of a story. I know it's not exactly the same, but this reminds me of a story back 2000 and I think it was 2000 and let me think here. 2011. There was a fire, and there's a lot of islands around. We have a huge lake here, and on the other side of the lake, it goes back into the forestry. So there was a fire that started because of the lightning, and there's a small town called Peachland, and the firemen wanted to go over there and put the fire out. And the forestry said, that's not your jurisdiction. Just leave it alone. You know what happened? That fire took down 230 homes.
Oh.
So all I'm trying to say is this, is that people like to wield power around, right?
It's all ego.
And I have another thing too. And I know this is different, but I just want to state something, and I do totally disagree. So in the state of Florida, if you haven't gone to school as a massage therapist, I think it's like for 2 years or something, and they have a law there that says that if you're not a registered massage therapist, you can't touch someone. Mm-hmm. So I mean, that would be, I can't touch my kids, I can't touch my wife. I mean, how far does this go? And then the other thing is because I'll have therapists, because we're coming down to St. Pete's, and we're going down there to do a 21-day training, right? Where we do the whole life coach, the Wolfe deep tissue, and the Wolfe non-sculpturing to actually show how to pull fibroids apart. Well, anyways, people say it, they'll call me and they go, well, because I know you can do this work in a lot of states and throughout Canada, and I just want to show this, and then we'll get right to PetStar. But back quite a few years ago, so the Massage Therapy Board, I was also licensed with them up here, and they told me that I could not teach my wolf deep tissue. And I started teaching this back when I was 27 years old, and they told me I couldn't do it, and because I couldn't teach somebody how to do massage. So I just got rid of the word massage, and then I just basically, and I'm not as like a radical as I used to be. I took my diploma and I just tore it in half and I mailed it back to them. And I said, well, I'm no longer part of you, so you can't tell me what to do. And they said, well, yeah, we actually can. We can take you to court because you're not allowed to teach people massage. And I said, well, go ahead. So, it's the same thing. The same bullying tactic is all about registration, organization, and trying to control everybody. You know what I mean? So it's not exactly the same, but, people need to stand up for their rights. Like, you stood up for the rights for this little deer, and now you can't even find this little deer.
Right.
All I'm trying to say is that people, there are bullies out there, and we need to stand up for people and stand up against rules or regulations that are totally ridiculous.
Absolutely.
It's about, when you say acts of kindness, well, acts of kindness are giving people back their power. And that's what you're doing. With the show that we're doing and what you do in your clinic is you give back the owners of these pets back their power. And that's why you wanted to create this show, and that's why we're here. So I'll let you do the talking.
Well, I'm excited. I'll have to fill you in next week on the whereabouts of La Luz. But it was a great story because in the bullying or the ego mind that this person had created this conflict, it really brought to light, many other people came forward and said, oh, I had a problem with that organization as well. And even though she reported me to Fish and Game is now going to turn around and look at them and say, what are you really doing? And so good definitely will come of this. And I'm happy for that.
Yeah.
But today's topic is leaky gut. And we could actually tie in that experience with leaky gut because one of the things that creates leaky gut is stress. And now she actually didn't bother me because I didn't let her get to me, but it was something that if I wasn't the character of who I was and grounded strongly enough in my convictions, that could have led to some stress. And so stress produces cortisol, and cortisol is our stress hormone with a side effect that it actually punches holes in our gut membrane. So let's go back a little bit and talk about what does the gut look like. We have a one cell membrane thickness in our gut that separates the outside world, meaning the tube that runs from our mouth to our anus. That's our outside world and everything that passes through it. And then our inside world, of course, is the side that goes into your body. This one cell membrane thickness is remarkable. It has this permeability membrane. It is selective on what is allowed to come into the body. And then everything that is not of the right proportion is supposed to stay outside the body. And we have another show where we covered this in depth. So let's talk about what happens when that membrane becomes damaged and what causes that damage. Well, the first thing that I would say is look at stress, because even though you may not think that your animal is under stress, they're in training to your stress. And the standard American day, which is what I coined at the Truth About Cancer last year, the standard American day is all stress. It's money problems, it's work problems, it's family problems, it's sleep deprivation, it's eating crappy food, it's the day-to-day conflicts that we have to deal with. It's the lack of self-care. It's the EMF. It's the pollution, the hormones, chemicals, pesticides, genetically modified foods, and lousy water if you're even drinking water. So all of those things are a contribution to this leaky gut. And for those who don't understand what that looks like, imagine a piece of cheesecloth. We hopefully all know what cheesecloth is. It's a piece of cloth that we filter things. Like if you're going to make chicken soup and all you want is the broth, or you cook your chicken soup and you have your onions, your carrots, and your celery, and you have all your herbs and your chicken and your bones. And then when it's all done, you want to strain it and just get the broth. You would pour that through your cheesecloth, and what comes through the bottom would be just your broth. But if somebody, unbeknownst to you, punched holes in that cheesecloth, now things that before were too large to come through the normal pores now can come through those pores, and they're going to fall down into your broth. Well, now when we have animals eating processed foods, they're not broken down well enough, or you have other hormones, chemicals, pesticides, whatever that is that wasn't supposed to come in. When it's coming down that track and it sees those bigger holes, it takes the path of least resistance and it actually comes in, and it is traveled to the liver, and now it's compounded because the liver looks at that molecule that wasn't supposed to come in and goes, oh my gosh, we have foreign invaders. And the job of the liver, amongst many other things, is to mount an inflammatory response, to send the army out there to kill the invaders so they don't harm the body. And it's a great system. If the invader was killed, the army goes back in the barracks, and then you have a repair mechanism that comes in, cleans up all the collateral damage, and you go back into being normal if the invader quits coming in. But in our sad day with our sad diet and eating all this processed foods, feeding it to our animals, and the tap water that is loaded with all these chemicals and nasties, like 65,000 chemicals in tap water, and we're giving that to our pets, we are creating all of this damage to that gut lining. So now not only is the stress and all the chemicals and toxins creating holes in the gut lining, but you're triggering the liver to mount an inflammatory response. It's releasing all these cytokines and histamines, and it's releasing all these steroids, these cortisol molecules, which are further damaging the gut, and it becomes a vicious cycle. The more damage to the gut, the more molecules come in. The more molecules that come in, the more the liver responds with an inflammatory response, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And then we wonder, why do we get autoimmune disease and why do we get cancer? Those are just end-stage inflammations. They're just chronic degenerative inflammatory diseases. And if we want to change things, we have to change what we're doing.
Marlene, I think we've got a question. Is that correct, Omi?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. You have to wait for the answer now, guys.
Go ahead, caller. Hello, caller. Omi, do we have a caller?
We do, but there's no response.
Okay. All right, so why don't you give us the answer?
See, the universe wanted the answer. Okay, so I'm going to give you some quick steps. Step number 1, stop doing the things that are causing the problem. So stop feeding processed foods, high sugars, genetically modified ingredients, the dairy, the legumes. We talked before that legumes have high lectins in them. They're very inflammatory. So we want to make sure that we're feeding a species appropriate whole diet that is supportive of the GI system. We want to reduce stress in the household because our pets entrain to our stress. You know, how many times do families come home and they're yelling at each other, they're yelling at the kids, the spouses are fighting, everybody's in this stress mode. And the animal is just picking all that up saying, here, I'll take some of that for you. And it's creating this sympathetic tone in the animal, and that inhibits the ability to heal. So your sympathetic and parasympathetic live on a teeter-totter. So when you say in high sympathetic, then your parasympathetic, which is your repair mechanism, is turned off. So you have to get that parasympathetic side turned back on again. We want to do things that help to heal the gut, like feeding bone broth and glutamine and making sure there's probiotics. The animals naturally got probiotics in the wild when they killed an animal and they ate through the intestinal tract. They got great effluent in their mouth, which was rich in the B17s and the bacteria and the chlorella and the rich superfoods that were in there. But our animals aren't eating through intestines anymore, so they're not getting that in their diet. And then, of course, we talked about reducing stress. Licorice root, slippery elm, these are great herbs, and there's some wonderful homeopathics that are great for healing the gut. Making sure that you have a high quality fatty acid in there. Those are critical. And of course, the vitamins, minerals, and fatty acids that are required by the body, the essential ones, the ones the body can't produce. So that is a really blast through it quickly synopsis of how do we fix the gut. Step number one, quit damaging it.
Well, that's excellent. I'm sure everybody's going to have to rewind and listen back through this.
I know I went through it really fast, but stop damage, support it, and heal it. Those are your three basics.
So, okay. So the biggest thing with people is you know as well as I do, they're kind of on autopilot. They've been buying the same kind of food, or they've got people on there just telling them, you know, oh, this is healthy for you. This is healthy for you. So why don't you tell them again, and I know we go through this every show, but we need to go through this every show because repetition is the master of all learning. So why don't you tell everybody what is the appropriate diet for cats and dogs, and then do you mind just going through, is there a different type of diet for younger cats or older cats or younger dogs or older dogs?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. So think about when you watch Mutual Omaha's Wild Kingdom. When I was growing up, that was our biggie. But we have all the nature shows that are out there now. And I don't know, what's the big one what's the big nature show? I don't watch
National
TV.
Geographic? I don't know.
Yeah, National Geographics. All right. Yeah. When you watch a lion kill an animal and go back and feed her pride, what does she feed them?
The intestines?
Well, she feeds them the same thing that she just ate.
Right.
It's the same animal.
Right.
So my point is, she's not dragging that kill to a kibble processor. She's not stuffing it in a can and adding preservatives. And she's not trying to hunt down an animal that has a tag on the hiney that says, I am only baby food. They eat what their mummies eat. That's what they were designed to eat. So this whole concept of marketing to age and marketing to health conditions, that is BS. We are creating the problems that our pets are having by feeding them a diet that is literally dead enzymatically. It's just creating inflammation. It is exceedingly high in carbohydrates if it is processed, meaning it's put into a can or it's made into a kibble. And if it has lectins in it, these legumes, the pea protein, the chickpeas, the all those things that people are substituting the grains and they're putting all these legumes in there. Oh my gosh, we're literally creating these animals' diseases. And we think as consumers we're doing the right thing because we've been sold on fast, cheap, and convenient.
Well, there's no protection for them, is there? The government is not protecting them.
We have to educate.
Well, the government's not protecting them. Is there anybody that even pretends to be protecting them, or is anybody doing it, or is it just you?
Me. There's a lot of me's out there, though. It's a big growing movement of people that are becoming conscious and becoming aware. So here's one of the things as an argument that some people will say, well, it's more expensive to feed a raw diet. Well, have you calculated in the cost of broke care? Because when somebody brings their pet into the average veterinarian, you got an exam fee, you got lab work, you got your diagnostics, and then you got your treatment. Plus that person has to take time off of work. Then you have to take the time to administer the therapies. Then you have to come back for your rechecks. And you have the emotional anguish that your pet is suffering. What value is that?
Yeah,
right?
But
they're not calculating that because people are so used to saying, well, I have insurance. So if I get sick, I've got insurance to cover it. No, that doesn't make up for bad choices. And for our pets, it's even more important because there aren't good insurance policies out there. And there's no insurance policy that is geared to lose money on you. So they're banking
Marlene, I don't really believe that I don't even... eating well or feeding your pets well is not more costly. It's not, because
it's not.
Your pet will eat like 30% of what they usually eat, or even 40%, somewhere around there. Because I know that when I used to eat what you would call the standard American day diet, I would eat like 3 times a day. I'm going to tell you right now, people aren't going to believe this, but all I had today was a blender drink, and I had about 3 quarts of structured water with some humic in it, and I had some watermelon, and that's it. And right now it's almost 4 o'clock, and I don't look drained. I don't feel drained. Now I'm gonna go and have a salad, and I'll still eat well tonight. I'm not saying I don't always eat like this, but the thing is that we know that nutrition, proper nutrition, turns off the trigger of hunger, and it does it with animals. And where's all your raw food that you promised that you were gonna have for everybody this week, Marlene? Come on, you know what?
I know. It's actually done, and I will tell you in 1 month. I will tell you what our mission statement is and our vision statement, and I'm really, really excited because it is awesome. But we're tweaking it, and so 30 days, I will have everything done for you guys.
Okay, everybody out there in PetStar world, please jot that on the calendar, and we'll see if Marlene can actually meet this target
I follow
date.
through in 30 days.
30 days.
We've really got it all done. 2 things I don't have any control over, but our pet fuel, Casey has it done and told me we're going to have production going here any day, and so I'm really excited.
All right. Well, anybody that goes around saving baby deers, we'll give you another chance. And we have a caller.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, caller. Caller? Hello? Okay. You sure we have a caller, Omi?
Sure do.
Yep. Caller, maybe you need to unmute or something. Okay. Caller? Hello? I can hear them. Anyways, Marlene, let's get back to it. Okay.
Okay. Oh, do we have a caller?
No, I think it's the same person, and I don't think they don't know how to actually can. So, do I need to know something to tell them, Omi, or what do they need to do? No. Okay, all right. Okay, they didn't pay their phone bill. That's what we just found out. Okay.
So today's topic, we wanted to talk about leaky gut. And we talked about what it is, how they get it. We talked about how to heal it. But let's talk a little bit about what are the symptoms. How do you even know if your animal has leaky gut?
Let's do that. But first, I want to say something. Can we tell people how that they could at least pre-order? Can people pre-order your? Because you know what, it would be nice if you're going to be ready. If you're going to be ready in 30 days,
I will make sure that their order is placed. How's that?
What are you going to do?
I will make sure that their order gets placed, and they will be first in line to get product.
Do you see what I'm trying to do, eh? I'm really trying to stress you out.
No stress.
30 days. 30 days.
I'm excited.
Okay,
then
all right.
I'll look at my list and go, look at all these people that are ready to take that better leap.
Well, where do they go? How do they order from you? Well, if they want to pre-order, what do they do?
I will give you a link that we can post that has a link to the company that they can order from directly if you're not in my area. My own clients, of course, can come into the office and purchase it, but the rest, they're going to be able to order online and it'll be shipped to them. But here's the cool part of the diet. You know how we're used to just taking food and you pour it into the bowl and it's one size fits all? We actually teach people how to feed to your pet's needs. And you just described how much you ate today. I had a very similar day. I had a green smoothie from Living Fuel. And then I had 1.5 of these turkey hot dog things. They're all organic. And I've drank water, and that was it. And I had some quinoa little candy pieces. And that's all I've eaten all day. And I've eaten that within a window of 3 hours. So I do intermittent fasting, and I very rarely get hungry. I will probably go home and drink bone broth or a tea instead of actually eating anything when I go home. And my energy levels are amazing. My brain clarity is incredible. And we're pretty close to the same age. And the vibrance that we show at our age is amazing. And then I look at people who are 10, 20, 30, even 40 years younger than me, and they just have no energy, and they've got brain fog, and they don't feel good. And it's sad because it does not have to be that way.
You know, these people would be a lot better off if they just ate your food.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good. They could. They could do the living fuel section and then eat raw. It
Yep.
doesn't have to be raw meat, but they could eat raw vegetarian and they would be so much healthier. It's
Yeah.
just all about reducing the inflammation. So, what does it look like if your pet had leaky gut? What may that look like? Anything that results in inflammation or really any condition that's abnormal. The things that we see the most common are skin problems, ear infections, skin disease, itchy dogs, those are, and cats. And those are by far the most common things that we see, chronic skin problems. But we also see obesity, we see GI diseases, vomiting, diarrhea, we see animals that have cancer, of course, are just out the wazoo at this point. I mean, we're seeing 4 to 10 cancer cases a week. Now, I may see more than some veterinarians because we get a lot of referral work and I deal with people around the country, but it's still a lot of cancer. And those are the ones coming through my door. So these are people that are local. What other things that people could look for would be anything that indicates that your animal doesn't feel good, lack of energy, coughing, respiratory problems, diarrhea, vomiting, constipation. One of the big things we see in cats now are these overweight cats that are constipated. And it can be life-threatening for these guys. So it's not a joke. They really need to lose weight. I have a little dog right now that had gotten sunburned on his back. The people watching the dog had inadvertently left him outside in the Florida sun, and he got a very severe sunburn, and it really peeled his whole back. And when he first came in, he weighed almost 30 pounds. It was a little dachshund, so he really looked like a footstool, not like a dog. And in just 2.5, 3 weeks, he's already lost 9 pounds. We have him on a raw diet. He's healing amazing. This little dog has not one time tried to bite us or complain. He's wagged his tail through all these treatments. And I mean, his whole entire skin on his back literally rotted off. So you can imagine how, if that were a person, oh my gosh, how much they would have complained. He wagged his tail and he was so grateful and appreciative, and he's healing so beautifully. So we're so happy for him. But my point is that in order to aid him in healing, we got him off processed foods. He's getting healthier. He's losing weight, and he's just an amazingly new dog.
We have a caller.
Awesome.
Hi there. This is Andy Carpenter.
Hi, Andy. How you
How are you,
doing?
Dr. Siegel? Dr. Wolfe? Doing well. How are you?
Great.
So we dialed in a while back. We have a new puppy, and we learned after a visit to our holistic doc that she's got hookworm. Or hookworm eggs were found in her stool. So they prescribed and this is a holistic vet, so we trust them, but wanted to run it by Dr. Siegel. They prescribed a Drontal canine for Dolly to take, and we're just wondering, is there another option for us rather than giving her medication?
There are, but there are not a lot of studies that have proven efficacy. There are some essential oil blends, there are some herbal products. My concern is that if you aren't working with somebody that really knows how to use them, you can actually cause harm. And so you want to be careful. You want to really make sure that all the other components of this dog's health is up to par, because a healthy animal with a really healthy gut is not as likely to be parasitized or to have the effects of parasitism. So they should be able to clear a lot of that infection on their own. And when they don't, we know that there is a compromise to their overall immune system. Does that make sense?
Okay, yes. And that's kind of what they told us, because I challenged them a little bit, and being a holistic practice, they recognize the fact that it's not ideal, but they did say that, this is really when it comes to parasites and hookworms, that this is really the only remedy that they know of that's effective.
Well, I'll add to that a little bit in that the choice of product that they used is not one I would have chosen first. So if I am going to use a parasiticide, I'm going to use the most minimal and most direct product I can use. So what they used was a more
really?
broad spectrum product. And I would have used something like a Strongyl tea, or something that was very directed to hookworms. And then after the treatment, I would go back and retest and make sure that the parasites are cleared. Other things that you want to think about is, how did the puppy get infected? So either they got infected through mommy when they transmitted from the placenta, they crossed that placental barrier and they got into the puppies, or they were walking through areas where hookworm larvae are. And so you want to see, where are you taking this puppy where the exposure occurred. In your own yard, you want to pick up the feces every 24 hours. Do not wash it into the ground, because you're just spreading the eggs out for them to larvate faster and be more infective. So they're going to, as an animal walks by, they're going to go up through the pads of the feet, or they're going to do a fecal oral ingestion. So make sure you're in a clean environment. And then, of course, make sure the immune system of your dog is at its peak, which 80% of the immune system lives in the intestinal tract. So are you feeding a probiotic? Are you feeding a species appropriate diet? Are you helping to heal the inflammation that's in the gut and set up a condition where those parasites really don't want to live? Does that help?
Okay. That helps a lot. We are keeping her in a clean environment for the most part, and we do pick up her poop, but we can't be assured that our neighbors and all are doing the same. But it's very possible. She's a rescue, and we've had her for a month. She's 3 months old, so it's those first 2 months. Not sure where she may have been exposed, and so
she may have come with them. Yes, absolutely. So we are working on some formulas that we're testing for essential oils and herbs to see if we can truly prove, and even some homeopathics, can we really prove that we're clearing that infection? And haven't got the data yet to prove it.
Okay. Well, this is very helpful, Dr. Siegel. Thank you very much. We'll give this some thought before we administer this frontal canine to Dolly then.
Yeah, there's more direct products that you could use that doesn't have as much of a broad spectrum.
Okay, great. Thanks for your help.
Andy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Wolfe. Thanks, Dr. Siegel. Bye-bye.
Do we have another caller?
No, we do not have another caller right now.
Well, you get to ask me another question. Either that, or I just get to keep talking.
Well, that's the whole thing about worms. I mean, is there something that naturally that will work and that people can use, or do they have to go to chemical formulas?
No, they don't have to go to chemical formulas unless the burden is very high and the immune system of that animal is really compromised. We've done things like coffee enemas combined with herbal products that are dewormers. We've done essential oils, and then we've done egg counts afterwards to see if we are affecting them. And we certainly, some studies I was doing in some goats. Goats are a real big issue with parasites in Florida, especially. And we can reduce the worm burden, but we haven't seen them go to negative. So we're just still working on that.
Can I ask you a question? This might be just whatever, wives' tale or whatever they say it's called. Mm-hmm. What about, can you actually take like eggshells and then grind them up and then put it into the dog's food? Would that actually help?
I have not come across that one as a parasiticide.
All right. Okay.
We've done wormwood. We've done a variety of different essential oils, including oregano. Coffee enemas will actually help reduce the burden quite a bit as well. But more importantly is breaking the life cycle. And if the animal is not symptomatic, then you have a little bit of time to play with that. But if your animal is symptomatic, I'll reach for a chemical as well, especially if I have an animal that's anemic and those parasites are sucking blood out of the intestinal tract and they're having vomiting or diarrhea. I'm not opposed to using a parasiticidal agent, getting that fast knockdown, but I don't stop there. I make sure that I get that animal's immune system built up. I get the gut built up. I get the microbiome reestablished. I make sure that they're on bone broth. They're getting kefir. We have a product right now that we're working with Dr. Zach Bush, and he's going to be launching this product. It's not available yet, so I won't say the name of it, but he's got a product that is absolutely over the top amazing, and it helps to tighten up the junctions in the gut. So it helps with leaky gut. It helps in the GABA junction, so it helps in the communication from cell to cell communication. It helps to establish the foundation for the microbiome to actually grow off of. And it's an all natural product. It is fantastic. So we're doing trials on that right now. And one of the things I might try to do is take a puppy that has parasites and see, could we get rid of the parasites by just really improving the gut biome and making it an inhospitable area for the parasites to be. The problem with that is while you're doing that, they're still shedding eggs into the environment. So
Right.
pet owners need to pick up that poop every time your pet goes outside, pick it up and throw it in the garbage can. Do not wash it in the ground because you're just spreading out more eggs. So that reinfection process becomes an issue.
We have a caller.
Hi,
Go ahead.
Dr. Siegel. How are you today?
Amazing. How are you?
Well, I have a couple of questions. I ended up joining you late, but I have a puppy. She's just getting ready to turn 1 year old, and we're not sure what's going on with her, and I'm very close to tears because we're trying to figure it out. For about 6 or 7 weeks, she has been vomiting and having diarrhea. There's been some stress in the family. We decided that we wanted, well, as a favor to the breeder, I had agreed to put her in a couple of dog shows. And once we started the training for the dog shows, she started intermittently having diarrhea and would throw up. And we had her in one set of shows, and she did okay, but the stool was pretty loose. She did not want to eat. We do have her on a raw diet.
Describe that for me.
We live in Colorado, and there is a dog food company. It's called Raw Dog Food and Company, and they make formulas of different proteins. So they do, I think it's an 80-10-10 for the most part.
Okay. Is it grass-fed?
I believe it is. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I believe that it is. I actually just sent a text. That's why I was late joining you. Just sent a text to the people that own the business, asking her some questions.
Yeah, you need to verify that it is, in fact, grass-fed and there's nothing non-organic in it.
Okay.
What kind of dog is she?
She is an Afghan.
We just saw an Afghan on Emergency a couple nights ago. They're so gorgeous. And what kind of water is she drinking?
We do purified water. It is reverse osmosis. We do not have a whole house filter. So we go to the health food store and fill up the little blue jug, which I know is not the best, but it's better than, the chlorinated, fluoridated stuff coming out of the faucet.
Okay. So you need to improve the water because that's really, really important. And you got to find out if the food is organic. Is she on any kind of a probiotic?
I do not believe she's on a probiotic. I had her at the vet 3 or 4 weeks ago, I guess. Unfortunately, our vet is not. Now, she's open to the holistic aspect, and she's studying, but she's still, behind the curve of that. But she's very willing to work with me. She told me I was her first client that fed raw. So she wants to learn. So she put her on a digestive enzyme to try to calm the gut down. And it's RX vitamins for pets, and it's the RX biotic. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Very familiar, yes.
Okay. And then she also put her on the RX clay to firm the stool up and to absorb any of the toxins in her gut. So, and then I was talking to a friend of mine who is a nutritionist, and she suggested canine enteric support from Standard Process.
So let's back up a little bit, because if I may use you as a loving example,
Sure.
what you're describing to me are, even though they're herbs and they're more and the nutraceutical lines, it's still a pill for an ill concept, except now instead of a pill for an ill, it's a nutraceutical for an ill. What you haven't addressed is the root cause of why this dog is having vomiting and diarrhea. Right?
Exactly, and we're trying. And
right.
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, we've done a couple of stool tests. They've all come back negative for parasites or Giardia.
Without doing it on the air, there are better tests than others that are able to be used to really diagnose that. And there are other fecal profiles that you can go through to really analyze, is the gut working? Is it not working? You can look at folate levels. You can look at B vitamin levels, cobalamin levels. There's many other tests that are out there. Number one, you've got to get a diagnosis. You really have to understand what the root cause of this inflammation is. I mean, we know it's inflammation, but why? And if what you're doing isn't working, then you need to back up and find out, what have I missed in here? And it may not be just one thing. It may be a combination of the things that you clean your house with and do the laundry. What do you use?
I use organic. I use 7th generation laundry detergent. I do have some 7th generation cleaning stuff for the counters.
Okay, I want you to read your 7th generation labels and see if they contain sodium lauryl sulfate.
Okay, I believe they do not.
Well, that's in most of 7th generation products. So if you have one that doesn't, good for you. But unless they've recently removed it, it's been in their products.
Oh, you're serious? Okay.
Yeah. So you just read your labels, and so even though you're kind of skirting around trying to find the right things to do, you're not quite hitting the target, right? So when the water isn't as good as it needs to be, you're still creating inflammation. I'm not sure about your diet. You have to make sure it's grass-fed, because if it's not, you're setting bombs off in her GI tract. That permeability membrane that we described in the beginning, you're taking not just a pen and punching holes, you're taking bowling balls and you're dropping them through that gut membrane. And that's just perpetuating the inflammation. The probiotics that you're using, not a bad product, but when it comes to nature, you can't make nature in a can. So looking at finding a natural source of probiotics, fermented products, the spectrum and variety of bacteria that are in fermented foods cannot be replicated in a can. It just can't. They're limited to the number of species. You don't even know if those species are still active when they've been sitting in the can for a long time. RX Biotics typically isn't refrigerated. So it's how good is the quality of the product that you're using? It comes under question. So back to the basics. Number one, you have to go through all of the lifestyle features that could contribute to inflammation and try to find the causative agents. What is creating it? And sometimes it could even be metabolic disease. It could be parasites. It could be protozoa. It could be things that you might have to test more than once on a sample in order to get a positive. For us, we have a lot of Giardia here. Sometimes we have to run 2, 3, 4 samples before we actually pick it up. So the need to be more thorough in going through the list of causative agents until you actually figure it out. You need to do that.
Okay.
And then don't underestimate the stress, because when the body is in stress, you're in high cortisol, and your parasympathetic system, which is the part that repairs the gut, all your repair, restoration, rebuilding, regeneration, all of that is in your parasympathetic system. If you're in high cortisol, you're in high sympathetic tone, you've turned off her abilities to actually repair her body. And so no matter what you throw at her, she really can't repair. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, it certainly does, and that was my concern at the very beginning when I started noticing that it kind of started when the training started for the dog shows.
Now, is the trainer on the road feeding her raw? We did take the raw with us. We stayed in a hotel, so we were able to keep it frozen, between meals. And no processed foods going down this dog's lips, no treats, nothing.
Well, she is getting freeze-dried, a couple of different brands of freeze-dried food, cookies. I just use, they're called Robbles, and it's
I would
freeze-dried.
encourage you to read those labels, because
Okay.
now that we're asking the right questions, we're getting a little bit more information. For a person who has a gluten sensitivity, or they have celiac disease, or they have IBS or SIBO, it just takes one indiscretion to set that gut off and create that leaky gut for days and weeks before the repair occurs. So don't think that, oh, that one little cookie is not going to be a big deal. If she has a hypersensitivity, or she already has inflammation, and you light one more fire in there, it could set her off for weeks. And now you have all of this inflammation going on in the gut. So I think I would encourage you to be much more diligent about really going through everything that's passing her lips and making sure that it is 100% organic, that there aren't any legumes in there. Look, especially the treats that you're talking about. Most of those have pea protein, or they have chickpeas in them, or they have some other legume or product in there that would be inflammatory. So you really, really need to go through everything that this dog is in contact with, what she's breathing, what she's eating, what she's drinking. You've got to find the underlying cause.
Okay. All righty. We can do that. Now, and I've heard you talk a few times about your food. When I know last
yes, oh my gosh, I know this is my nemesis. Within 30 days, I have made the promise that this food will be announced, and the links, and available to all of you. And not because I helped to create it, because I just helped to create it. I don't physically make the food. I'm partnered with the best producer of grass-fed meats in the entire country. And he's an amazing man. He's got this amazing established business, and he loves animals, and was willing to add this SKU because he just feels like it's really, really important. So they've been working diligently with me over the past couple of years to make this product happen. And it will definitely revolutionize the way pets are fed. And not only how they're fed, but it's not, I started saying earlier, this is not one stop, everybody fits in the same mold. We're going to teach people that if your pet is overweight, you need to feed a little differently. If your pet is very active, it's a sport dog or a working dog, they need to feed and eat a little differently, just like we do. We need to eat to the body type, to the breed, to the activity levels, to the current body weight. You need to gain, you need to lose, you need to maintain. And so we need, as pet owners, we need to learn how to feed our pets appropriately, not just open a bag, pour it into a bowl, and walk away. We have really created their problems.
I totally agree.
Here's the gift.
That's why I've been working toward, the raw aspect of the food. So
good for you. Here's the irony. How many people have learned how to feed themselves. Dr. Wolfe and I were just talking about how we do intermittent fasting, how we feed our bodies to their nutritional needs, and our bodies aren't starving and screaming. We don't have yeast overgrowth. We have very healthy, happy cells, and our bodies are doing what it is designed to do, and we support that body so that the body systems can work. How many people feed themselves that way, let alone learn how to feed their pets? So I think one of the greatest contributions I can make to society as a world changer is, as we teach people how to feed their pets appropriately, they're going to apply that to themselves. I've seen it over the past 15, 20 years in my practice. People say to me, if that's working for my pet, do you think I should make those changes? Do you think I should do something different? Because typically they have the same health challenges that their pets do. What a surprise.
Right. Okay, one more question, then I'll let you go. Is that okay?
Oh, it's absolutely
absolutely.
fine. You just
Okay.
take your time. This is your show. We designed this whole
you're
show
so
for you.
sweet.
Didn't
Thank
you know that?
And you're asking great
Thank
questions.
you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Just
so
take your
you
time.
mentioned that Giardia is prevalent in your area. If a dog has Giardia and you have other dogs, but they're not showing any symptoms, could it eliminate Giardia from the puppy?
No.
Okay, so she could have it
just
without
because
the older
just
ones
because
having
somebody
it.
in your house gets a cold doesn't mean everybody is going to get a cold. Children in school, some get sick, some don't get sick. Everybody's exposed, but depending on your immune system, all the different factors that go into how and why you get sick. So just because one animal isn't exhibiting the symptoms that the other is doesn't mean that it rules anything out. And especially because you have a dog that's traveling to dog shows, there's a lot more exposure to health challenges out there. There's more parasites being exposed, and there's more bacteria and viruses and more stress challenges. There's a lot going on there.
Right. Well, she got pulled from the second set of shows. I didn't not make the handler happy, but I pulled her from the second set of shows because I told her I did not believe that it was, best for her. I just felt like the stress was too great. So I pulled her, and she won't be in any more shows.
Well, here's the principles I want you to follow. Number one, you have to find the underlying cause. You have to eliminate the things that are contributing to the problem. And it may be multifactorial. You may have to go through and even check the EMF exposure in your home because she may be electromagnetic sensitivities. You don't know. So you have to check all that out. And then two, you want to start establishing and rebuilding the gut microbiome. You want to start healing that leaky gut. The product that I am working with, I can send you some product. If you email or call my office, we can send you some of this product that we're testing right now. And it helps to repair the leaky gut and create and establish the right microbiome, the terrain for the microbiome to grow in. So I would love to see if that helps her. I would actually love to put her on that product and try that. That was from Dr. Zach Bush. And then once you've eliminated the problem, you've fixed the underlying cause, you've healed the gut, you've reestablished the gut flora, then you want to make sure that you're supplying her body with all the essential nutrients that her body needs to do its job, the vitamins, minerals, the fatty acids, the aminos, and then see what you have left.
Perfect. I will be in touch.
Thank you,
look
caller.
for Truffle Lady. That's my name.
Okay.
Through
You can put something in the tagline that says, I spoke to you on PetStar today.
Okay. All right. I will do that.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to put her in our study.
Thanks for the great questions. We have another caller.
Okay. Thanks very much, guys. We'll talk later.
Have a beautiful day.
Bye-bye.
Hey, caller, go ahead.
Hi, my name's Shelly, and I just had a question. I watch my brother's dog once in a while, and I do like to feed him some vegetables and fruit, and I just want to make sure I'm not feeding him anything that could be bad for him. Are there any fruits and vegetables that are bad?
I would, if you're going to feed fruits, A, has to be organic, limited volume, and I would keep it to the berries, the high antioxidant things like blueberries, raspberries, uh, those kind of blackberries if you have them in your area, but they must be organic. That's
Okay.
above and beyond
Okay.
all else, but in very limited amounts. It's more important to feed a balanced raw diet than it is to feed animals. Didn't go out and graze on fruit trees and fruit bushes, so it's a lot of sugar for them. And not that they don't have some good antioxidants, but remember, what did a wild animal do? How did they get these digested grasses and the B17, the nitrilicides, the bitters? How did they get that? Well, they ate through the intestine of the herbivore that was eating all that. And so they got it pre-digested for them. But when they're eating a high sugar diet or they're eating a lot of fruit, then their pancreas is having to deal with that blood sugar. And that can cause inflammation and lead to complications. And then on the vegetable side, you want to stick with things like your dark green leafies, your broccoli, your cruciferous vegetables. I do love feeding animals sprouts. I think sunflower sprouts and broccoli sprouts, they're just superfoods. But again, they need to be in balance, and they need to be broken down to where that pet has an easier time digesting it in a balanced raw diet.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you, caller. We have another caller.
Yes.
Go ahead, caller.
Hi, Doc and Dr. Siegel. It's Peachy
Hi, Peachy.
from Florida.
Oh, hi, Peachy.
Good to see you again. I joined a little late, but I had a question, and I heard that the food is on the way, so I'm glad to hear that. I won't give you a hard time.
It is. Where in Florida are you, Peachy?
I'm in Fort Myers, but I'm coming to St. Pete. I hope I'll see you when the doc comes.
We'll make sure that Marlene brings the dog food, okay? All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am planning on coming and making some unannounced visits.
Excellent. So what happens now, I have two small Maltese, well, I shouldn't say small Maltese. They're a little, I feel overweight at the moment. One is about, I think, 8 pounds now. The other is 7. But one, the little one she had a bad jump off my bed, and I took her to the vet. The next day, not the next day. I waited a week, and she was limping and holding up her rear right leg. And then I looked up your website, and I saw that you had some success with the what my vet told me was it was a like what would be
it was a cruciate
equal
injury.
to like your ACL.
Yeah, it was a cruciate rupture.
Problem.
Yes.
And then she's you have to have surgery, and it's very expensive. Let me give you anti-inflammatories. I was like, whoa, could we try some turmeric first? So she was like, oh, I wouldn't know how to do it. I said, but I will. And I said, I don't want to give the dog any medication like that. I was giving them the whatever medicine to protect them from the mosquitoes, but I didn't want to give them I didn't want her to have an anti-inflammatory. We were flying the next day. So, so I gave her like a little Epsom salt bath. I've been given like a little sprinkle of a turmeric nutraceutical that I have. And I've also actually given her a little of my own probiotic nutraceutical. Now, is that compatible for a dog, or I shouldn't do that?
It depends on what product you're taking, how effective it is. It is designed for the human microbiome, which is a little different than the pet microbiome. I think some good bacteria is better than no bacteria, but it really just depends on what the quality of your product is. I'm just not a fan of probiotics that were made in a laboratory by somebody in a white coat, because you'll end up being treated by somebody in a white coat in a hospital when we rely on those kind of products. So I really am a very big proponent of how did nature do it? And so we are
Yes.
big on fermented foods, whether it's fermented goat's milk, fermented cow's milk, fermented vegetables, whatever that looks like that you have good access to. I think that's really important. And the variety of organisms, right? Every time a wild animal eats another animal, that microflora that was in the intestines is going to be a little different because the range of what they were eating, the different grasses they were feeding on, all of that's going to change from day to day, from species to species. So we want to be thinking about how close can we get back to how nature does it. There's the whole thing on biomimicry, looking at nature and solving the problems that we have based on the principles that plants and animals use to not only live sustainably, but to also ensure survival of generations to come. And that's what biomimicry is. It's a new biology. So I think anytime that what we're doing isn't working as well as it should, we need to step back and look at, am I mimicking what nature would have done as close as feasible? It doesn't mean you have to go out and shoot Bambi or little rabbits and trap them in your yard, but you can find companies that are making diets that will simulate that. Like one thing we haven't talked about, we talked about our meat product, but we also have a pet fuel product. And it's the part that balances our meat. So you have your bone, your fat, your organs, your muscle meat, you have all of that. And then you also have to have all the vitamins, minerals, fatty acids, and aminos that are in a form that the animal can utilize. And so we have actually developed this product to be very tailorable to the individual, which means if you have an overweight dog and you have an underweight dog, you're going to feed them a little differently. And not just by volume, the blend may be a little bit different. The particular nutrients you might want to change a little bit. We have enzymes already built in our food. We have superfoods built into the food so that we are giving the body a smorgasbord of all the things it needs to do its job. And we're saying, here, we're giving you everything that you need. If you don't need it, send it out the poop chute. But we're going to make sure you have all the things that you need.
Okay, so at the moment from the last time I was able to get through and speak to you, I changed them from their kibble to the I'm using the raw instinct food right now because that's what I can get at my store.
Okay.
So so I guess that comes in different forms. This time it came in like a hamburger patty, and I read the bag, and it says, like, you give each dog like one patty a day if they're 5 to 15 pounds. So I think maybe but if I don't give them like the whole patty, and even if I do and I leave a little old kibble down, they look like they're starving, but they're getting to be fat little sausages. And the one with this ACL issue that I wanted to get back to, or I could get back to that after you answer what I just asked.
So the ACL injury was the pinnacle of the inflammation and the lack of proper nutrients to support the cartilage and the knee. So think of it that way. Why did that knee blow out to begin with? Because the things that the body needed to create a strong, healthy knee had become compromised. Blood supply, circulation, the energy going to that. And that really starts up in the spine and vertebrae. So I would venture to guess that if I took an x-ray of your dog, I may see a curvy spine. I may see some degenerative disc disease, which means that as the spine gets inflamed, the muscles are going to contract. When they contract, all those nerve roots that are coming out from between those vertebrae are going to be compressed. And now they can't send out as much energy to the end user, the individual cells that supply. Every cell in our body is supplied by our central nervous system. So if you compromise some of that, there's no wasted nerve fibers, right? There's not extra just in case. Everybody has a job to do. And when you restrict that energy, the end user is going to be compromised and not going to have as much health and vibrance. And so then you're a little overweight and you jump off the couch wrong and boom, now you have an injury. So we want to look at what contributed to the problem and then how can we fix it? And you already said, of course, they've been eating processed foods their whole life, and now you're starting to mitigate the damage of that. But you have a lot of healing left to do with these dogs. And that's not a bad or good thing. It's just what it is. So I want you to just be okay with the fact that you're where you're at, and your dogs are teaching you a lot about health and nutrition and about healing the body and about how the body works as a machine, and everything that they teach you, you can apply to yourself, and you evolve together to create a healthier lifestyle. And then you share that on social media.
It's actually exactly what's happening, because I started on my mission 3 years ago. Then I met Darrell, and I'm following the TTAC and the nutraceuticals I have. Probably most come from organics. I have some from Doc Wolfe too, but the probiotic is from organics. So here's my thing. She was limping and with 3 legs, right? So I was holding her. I put them in a carriage so that she wasn't overusing it when it first happened, that she, showed up with this limping. So it was getting better, and then she started to put some weight on that back leg. So I thought what I was doing was really kind of working better than a horrible anti-steroid or inflammatory. So I think that part is working, but I'm a little frightened about what could I do to help her? I've massaged a little. I don't know if I'm helping. Should I let her walk? Should I pick her up?
Let me go ahead and answer that question, because it has a lot of depth to it. So in the healing process, of course, number one, you have to supply her with the elements that her body needs to be able to heal. So she has to have the nutrients to be able to make that happen. Okay, that's number one. Number two, we need to still reduce the inflammation that's in her body, which contributed to the problem to begin with. And then number three, we have to turn on the energy centers of the cell, the mitochondria. These are the guys that actually produce the energy that the body uses to repair, restore, regenerate, all the things that we're asking her body to do to get better. On my website, there is a really awesome story of Melvin. And Melvin was a large dog that ruptured his cruciate ligament. And the owner was unable, for whatever reasons, to do surgery. So she said, can we just get him comfortable? Her only goal really was to get him out of pain so he had quality of life. And in 10 weeks of doing things like we did PEMF, or pulse electromagnetic frequencies, with our Magnosphere, we did chiropractic work, we did laser therapy. I don't remember if he got ozone or not. But we did all these different therapies and provided the foundation for his body to heal. And literally in 10 weeks, he was back to walking, fully on his leg, playing, twisting, and turning. And he has remained absolutely sound on his cruciate leg for, it's going on almost 2 years. So not even relapsing. And that's remarkable.
Yeah.
So I think that.
And I saw that video, and that's what gave me hope, because I was traveling to New York to see my grandkids, and I had to bring the dog, and I was just really upset with the vet, what she told me, and I was just like, oh my God. And then I looked you right up, and I saw those videos, and I was so happy that I found that you had success, because I could bring her up there if I think she isn't continuously improving as I'm going. She walks on it. She still jumps off the bed. I put an ottoman there, so she has 2 steps.
Build her a ramp.
I sometimes can't catch her from jumping.
Yeah, build her a ramp so that she can get on and off without jumping. That's very important.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Well, you're not that far from me. Okay. So if you want to come in, we can do a consultation. I can help you to tweak the things that you're doing to help her to heal. And then when she's all better, we can actually talk about her on the show.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself, though, that you sound like you have so many things going. Is your calendar, is it hard to get in to see you, or I'll just call and take my chances? I think I probably have to wait about a month
Just
to do
just
it,
call the
but-
office. The girls will fit you in.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, and I love this program. It's fantastic. There's nothing like it. So thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Peaches. Have a great day.
Okay.
Thank you, Peachy.
Talk soon, Doc. Yep.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, so we're coming near the end.
It goes so fast.
I know it does. So what would you like to tell everybody? I know you already made the promise that in 30 days they're going to get their food. So we got that out of the way. But what else would you like to share with everyone?
So there's a few things that I posted on Facebook because I love posting out wonderful webinar series and educational series. There are several that I just posted links to on my Facebook page. It's both on my personal and on my Pasco Veterinary Medical Center page.
Okay.
One of them is a phenomenal animal wisdom summit. The summit itself is over, but I am telling you, I even found profoundly life-changing information on this summit, and it will be available for purchase, very nominal amount of money, for another 2 days. It comes down on Friday. So anybody who really wants to understand what is the spiritual meaning of animals, and not just dogs and cats, but even wild animals, what do they mean in our life? Why are they here? Why are we supposed to honor them? What can we learn from them? What are those blessings? This is the summit for you. So I encourage you to go get that link and purchase the summit. It supports the people who put this summit on, and they are amazing. And I hope that if she does it again next year, maybe I'll be the only veterinarian that she actually invites to be part of the summit. She had a lot of animal communicators, fantastic oracle readers. There was just a plethora of absolutely phenomenal people that are changing the world through the animal world, and I couldn't recommend it enough. And then there's a SIBO summit that's going on. I think today is day 3 or day 4. But they typically will have a replay. So if you can get registered and then wait for the replay, you pick up on the lectures that you missed. And I found some amazingly excellent information, because there's always things that we're learning. You know, you may think that you know a lot about stuff like that. And I would certainly count myself as somebody who's pretty knowledgeable in that area. And I learn a pearl or two or more every time I listen to some of these most amazing doctors and scientists that are out there doing cutting edge things. So that SIBO summit is excellent. And then there's a pregnancy women's health summit that I posted a link to. It hasn't started yet, so they're just registering for that. And these are all free. So I am asking all of you out there who are listening, turn off your television. It is a waste of your time. It is a waste of your energy, and it's negative programming. And turn on programs like these webinars, which are going to teach you, inspire you, educate you, and motivate you to make the changes in your life and your pet's life, so that you really become the change. You become the inspiration. You become the person you really came here to be.
Thank you, Dr. Siegel. And make sure that you know how to get to her Facebook. You want to tell everybody your Facebook in case they don't know?
Sure. It's under my name, Marlene, Marlene, Siegel, Siegel. And there's a picture of me in, I think, a pink shirt. That'd be me. And of course, I'm in Tampa, Florida. And that one I have to accept your friend request. And I get a lot of spammers and weirdos. So I'm not real fast. You need to almost do something so that I know it's from this show. Or you can just follow me, and that way you can get the information. Or you can follow my Pasco Veterinary Medical Center page. And it has it has PetStar on the banner so that you know if you're in the right spot. And I post everything to my public page as well. So that one, you don't have to have a friend request.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Siegel. Another amazing show, as everybody always says.
And I don't get to thank you enough, because we talked about this a year and a half ago, and you made it happen. So thank you. You're really, truly blessing the entire world.
Well, thanks for that. And I want to thank everybody for joining us. Make sure that you share this show. You let everybody know about PetStar because, as you can tell, it's amazing information. You're not going to find it anywhere else. And if you miss the show, you can always go to docofdetoxshow.com and you can see all the other amazing shows we have. We have Dr. Jimenez on there. We have Dr. Deborah Drake. We have Dr. Marcel Wolfe. We have Clayton Nolte. So we have lots of different shows. We try to cover all the topics that are going to make a difference in your life and in your family's life. So, and the other thing I'd like to say is we will be in St. Pete's, Florida. We only have 2 more spots left for our whole life coach, Wolfe Deep Tissue and Wolfe Non-Surgical. It starts on October the 22nd. And go to itioh.com if you want more information on that. And the next PetStar show is on Wednesday, September the 19th. And this will not be a call-in show. This will be, we have pre-taped this show. And there was some call-in people that did call in. But you're going to not want to miss this show. Because this is about what your pet's live blood analysis can tell you. And on there, Marlene, would you tell them what they're going to be seeing?
Well, we actually presented real cases with live blood analysis.
Yes.
So I did a screen share and I was able to show several different cases and what the effects of diet, what the effects of frequency music, what the effects of PEMF, ozone actually had on the blood. And when you see that, it really helps you to get a grounded feeling that it's not just this tangential theory that's out there. Oh, I think I feel better. You can actually see why you feel bad. And then you can see the changes in the blood of these pets and see why they feel better. They don't fake it. It's very organic.
So you're going to actually see how Dr. Marlene Siegel can take a bloody mess and make it into the best for your pet. So you don't want to miss that, okay? All right. And we're going to have another show called Bioenergetics with Dr. Deborah Drake, okay? And believe it or not, she truly is. She's truly known as being the female Einstein of this decade. All right, and that's on September the 6th, Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which would be tomorrow. The show is called Music is Medicine, okay? And she invented what we call the Tesla coil, amp coil, and she's going to be talking about how music is actually medicine and how it is frequency and how it heals the body. The next energy medicine show with Marcel Wolfe is on Monday, September the 10th. And that show is an introduction to energy medicine. So as Einstein stated, energy medicine will be the way of the future. And we are there right now. And the next Braveheart Nation is on Tuesday, September the 11th at 10 a.m. And the show is called There's a Terrorist in Your Home. All right. And the next Hope for Cancer show is on Thursday, September the 13th, and it's called The Compromised Gut, Cancer and Chronic Diseases. All right? And then we'll be doing a Clayton classroom show on September the 17th, and that will be again at 3 o'clock like most of them. And the show is about why bottled water is a scam. All right? I want to thank everybody else. That watch the show today. Please tell everybody about this show. And I want to thank my beautiful host, Dr. Marlene Siegel, who is a real humanitarian and your pet's best friend. Thank you for today, and God bless.
Bye. Save the deer.
Bye.